are talking Succubus from 2024, and this is a Russian movie, so Succubus is the English translated name. I'm not going to try and pronounce anyone who is involved in this movie because it will just be a car crash. So Succubus, what's it all about? This movie is kind of like one of those trashy supernatural romance novels that you'll find at airports that kind of bored housewives end up kind of getting super involved with. It's effectively a film about four couples who go to a couples retreat in this remote kind of island location. It's very lavish. It's a little bit weird though, because everyone there, all the staff are kind of wearing masks. It's quite strict rules, and these couples have to go through a variety of tests. But there may be more supernatural things that are going on here. This island might be home to a demonic entity which wants to feed off these individuals by appealing to their worst impulses and trying to influence them to be abusive or infidelity and things like this. One of the kind of the women who are in one of the couples actually is there for a more of a her own personal reasons, as she has a personal beef, so to speak, with what is going on and wants to find out a little bit of a mystery involving someone close to her. Now, what will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss. So I have reviewed a variety of Russian horror movies on the channel from time to time, and I have to say, generally speaking, they've all been quite well produced. The general quality of the ones I have reviewed has always been fairly high. Good production values, good location, decent cinematography and things like this, and this movie is no different. In actual fact, the location of where this is shot is fabulously Gothic, and it kind of almost feels like a Gothic winter wonderland. It's all kind of snowy and it looks almost Christmassy in a weird way, apart from the kind of like the Victorian era goth style stuff with these kind of masks on and kind of weird architecture and strange kind of altars and things like that that are sort of dotted around. But it's really kind of quite beautiful in a kind of in a creepy way, I suppose. So that, I have to say, this movie's production design looks fantastic, and again, it's a very well put together movie. The story's kind of like a B movie. It's almost like a posh Roger Corman movie if he were Russian. But the actual look of the movie is, you know, is crisp. It's well put together. It looks like time has been spent here, and kind of to do a kind of a, you know, a very kind of ethereal looking movie in many ways. There are lots of sex scenes, which is going to be either a good or a bad thing depending on how you feel about that sort of stuff. I think nearly all of the female cast end up getting naked at one point, and there's a lot of sex scenes in this movie. I mean, that's kind of the idea. It's somewhat of a, you know, air quote, erotic horror movie, because this kind of demonic force is tempting people and kind of making people succumb to their kind of carnal needs and all that. So I guess you would expect it. And there's, you know, there's obviously lots of attractive cast members, male and female, for everyone's bit of eye candy there, I suppose. The acting, I have to say, is always difficult to tell with foreign language movies, because I never know if I'm kind of reading the subtitles exactly as it's being spoken. But it seemed okay. I wouldn't say I was kind of like particularly blown away by what I was seeing in regards to the kind of the body language and stuff, but it was pretty good. It didn't take me out of it. There was no sort of like ham-fisted physical acting or emoting and things like that, but it was kind of, you know, somewhat subdued maybe, but good enough, I would say, for the majority of people. We do get some kind of creepier moments here. There's this kind of labyrinth which is all made out of thorns and kind of bramble and things like that, and that's kind of quite creepy. There seems to be bodies that are all kind of in this undergrowth, and that we obviously have a kind of a demonic entity there as well, which is kind of all done practically here. So there's a much more of a reliance on kind of a practical effects. There was a very good twist in the movie. Now, I didn't see it coming, actually, so I thought it was pretty good. I guess looking back on it, it is somewhat telegraphed, which I think is actually a good thing, because I feel sometimes movies have a twist and it's like, there's no way you would have seen that coming. and I think a decent twist does give you some idea about what might happen beforehand. And if you go back and think, I didn't pick up on the clues. So I had to say I thought this twist was quite kind of good. And the characters were flawed, but kind of likeable. So I quite enjoyed that. So what doesn't work in this movie? I mean, it's super cheesy. Like I've said, it very much is like one of these romance novels put to screen. Ultimately, there's lots of salacious goings on. It's all a bit soap opera-y, things like this. There are lots of things that I feel just the movie just doesn't bother kind of going into. For example, you know, how do these people even hear about this this couple to treat? Was it like, it looks like it's very lavish, so would it have been expensive? How, you know, weren't they kind of thinking, there's only 4 couples here with all of these stuff and this massive private island with a helicopter and stuff? Aren't alarm bells starting to kind of ring here? What's with all these masks? None of these questions will be answered in this movie, and a whole lot more. So yeah, there's lots of things you've just kind of got to take on kind of face value at the end of the day. So, you know, there's that. I feel there are some characters that are a little bit underdeveloped. You can kind of tell who's, you know, let's just say disposable more so than others. And, you know, some of I think the characters seem a little one-dimensional in regards to some of their motivations and things like that. They're just there to kind of like, oh, he's like a kind of a cheating bad guy or whatever and things like that. It's all very not particularly deep characters, quite shallow and maybe outside of our main sort of character to a degree. Yeah, but it's a reasonable kind of mystery. I think it's more concerned with having, I mean, the movie's kind of split 50-50 between trying to kind of set up kind of sexy scenes and then trying to kind of set up horror. The second half is more about the more of the horror elements, as the first half is more concerned about, you know, having gothic sexy scenes. So it's a little bit of a tonal issues perhaps, but you know, obviously there are clearly a market for things like this. Overall though, I'd say when it all kind of shakes out, it's a fairly good movie. I wouldn't say it breaks the mold in any way, but it's certainly an above average movie just because obviously it's so kind of well put together. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Please do let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.